No role plays, no conference calls, no BS. Chris and Lorenzo share 4 decades of combined experience to help you become a more effective leader. This is Hacking Your Leadership.
Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And welcome to this week's Thoughtful Thursday. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube at Hacking Your Leadership and leave us a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. On this Thoughtful Thursday, I want to talk about an article from the TED Talk website by Therese Houston. It's a couple years old, but it was incredibly impactful when I read it. The article is called The 2 Kinds of Praise We All Need to Get at Work. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Okay, what types of praise do I need to get at work? What types of praises does Therese Houston think I need to get at work? And the 2 types of praise that she talks about that are important are what she refers to as praise for a me strength, M-E, and praise for a we strength, W-E. So me being yourself and we being the team. And then the example that she used talks about a person using, kind of humor to diffuse a tense conversation. And I thought, okay, that's good. That's a me strength. And then she goes on to say, no, that's not a me strength. That's a we strength because it lifts the team up. Diffusing a situation with humor in order to make people feel comfortable with having a tough conversation is a we strength because it lifts the entire team up. And I thought, okay, now I want to know more because the way that she defined it was different than I thought she was going to define it. And so it kind of like piqued my interest in wanting to see more. The cool thing about this article is it talks about why people need praise for doing certain things, some of which are things that they are innately good at, some of which are things that that drive results, whether or not they're innately good at these things. And so you read the article too. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I like you, was like initially like, I don't know. Okay, let me better understand this. And then kind of digging into it, I think it makes a lot of sense. And the way that I kind of took the article was like, there's recognition that I want to give to my team when the team works well together and they deliver on something. And that way I can recognize the team and build repetitive behaviors. Like that's the way of working that we want to work, that gives us the outcomes we're looking for in the way that we want to do it. So like I need to recognize the team collectively when I see certain things. And then I need to recognize the individuals collectively when the individuals do things that are within like their strength. They go above and beyond. They take a calculated risk with something when they put forth an effort that they, because they really possess that skill, that they do for themselves and for the team and for myself, but specifically looking at like, these are things that I want to recognize by making sure I'm paying attention and by also realizing that whatever this thing is that they did, how can I maybe create spaces so they can do more of that? So like that's kind of what I heard in reading the article was like really looking at those 2 spaces to make sure that I'm recognizing, number 1, to build behavior of the larger team, and number 2, for individuals to feel good about the work that they're doing and seeing that their unique talents are being seen.
Yeah, the reason why I like this is because we've always seen that Venn diagram where it's like, okay, find something. When you want to know what you should be doing for a living, it's you have to find something that is something you're good at, something you love doing, and something that the world will pay you for, right? You have to check all 3 of those boxes. And then if you can do that, then great, you found your calling. Most people can check 2 out of 3 of those boxes, but not necessarily the third one for a lot of things that they do. And I like that this doesn't put them together as like, it's got to check more than one of these boxes. It separates them out. It says that a me strength is something that someone is just naturally, that they love doing, that they're good at doing and they love doing it. Whereas the me strength is something that drives the team forward regardless of what the person feels about it. Like a person could be good at it, but they could hate it. They could really not get any passion or drive for it at all, but it moves the team forward. And therefore, you want that person to do more of that if they're okay with it. And so by giving them praise on the outcomes of it, you can kind of separate out the maybe they don't love doing it and they feel like they get pigeonholed into doing it because they're good at it. And so by praising them for not what they do well, but for the outcomes that occurred because of it, it separates the 2 out from each other. And I think it allows a person to look at that skill or that strength maybe differently than they had before, and hopefully maybe index more on it as they go on, maybe utilizing it more and more to drive the team forward even further. And then the me strength, I love what the article says about how a person doesn't need praise for a me strength in the form of, hey, good job. Hey, you did this really well. You're really good at this. I love that you do this well. If it's a me strength, meaning it's something that they love doing and they're good at it, they already know. They already know that they're good at it and they love doing it. And that kind of verbal praise doesn't really do anything for them. To them, the right type of praise is if you as a leader give them more opportunity to do it. Put them in more situations where they can utilize those strengths and those skills, because that's how you kind of give them that type of praise. Is you kind of recognize it and you say, okay, Lorenzo's really good at doing this. I'm going to make sure he has more and more opportunities to do that. Believe me, that does not go unnoticed. Lorenzo knows that you've been doing this intentionally, and he knows that it's because it's something he loves doing. He doesn't necessarily think about it as whether or not he's good at it. He's like, well, clearly I love doing this. My leader's giving me more opportunities to do it. And so what I'm going to ask you, Lorenzo, is I want to know about a time when you had a leader give you an opportunity to do something more because it was clear you absolutely loved doing it, regardless of whether or not you were good at it. I want to ask you that, but first I'm going to give a word from one of our sponsors. All right, Lorenzo, what's something you absolutely love doing and you've been rewarded and praised for doing it by leaders who have put you in situations to do more of it?
I am very grateful that it's happened many, many times in my career. And that is, I really enjoy putting together developmental presentations and strategies. So whether it's training leaders or providing concepts or ideas or theories about leadership, and it's taking the time to really think about how do we create an environment and in a space where learning is celebrated, where learning is real, and where learning is relevant to the work that we do. So I have had many leaders over my career, and even to this day, where I find myself in situations where I'm being asked to create and develop some content that has to do with an element of leadership development, but not just the content of like write some stuff down, but actually like build a presentation, build an activity, work on something that will allow us to kind of pull the thread of the concept of the idea all the way through something to have an impactful learning for leaders of all levels.
Have you ever gotten the impression that somebody somewhere or a group of people somewhere said, "Oh, I don't want to do this. Oh, give it to Lorenzo. He loves that stuff." Is it ever from that perspective, or is it truly you think that they looked at it and they go, "Wow, we all want to do this, but Lorenzo just loves doing this. Let's let him have a shot at it because I think it'll be done really well because he loves doing it."
I've seen both actually.
Both?
Yeah, I've seen both. I actually had somebody, I won't put any names out there because they are a listener of the podcast, but somebody a couple of weeks ago was like, "Hey man, I got this assignment to do this thing, and you and I both know I'm no good at this, but because you helped me do it before, and I was able to make it appear as if I was really good at it, I've been given this assignment, and I need your help." And of course, you know what I mean. Like, so there are definitely
study for
times.
The test once, and now you're forever doing his tests.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And there are definitely times when I've had the fortunate ability to work with a lot of my peers for a good amount of time. And so there have definitely been times in meetings where somebody's like, "Hey, we should really put this together," or "This would be cool if we could do this." And then I just immediately see the eyeballs start to turn and everybody starts to look at me before it's even asked of like, who might want to do this? And the funny part is there are times when I'm just like, I'd rather not because I have other things going on or I have other priorities that are happening. But at the same time, saying like I anytime I get the opportunity to, and if I feel that the team is asking me to bring my skill, I do my best to do that.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I mean, it's just an assumption that there are times when you're on the opposite end, where there's something that gets asked and you're looking at like, ooh, this does not sound like something that I will get a lot of passion from. It'll take a lot longer for me to do it because I just don't. It'll take me a long time to get my head in the right space for it. But this person who I've worked with for 10 years, I know they're really good at it. So, I mean, the table kind of turns the other way too sometimes, right?
Yeah, and especially I've also been fortunate to have direct bosses that that know who's got what skill for what things, and has realized over time it's much easier to just give the person that has the skill and likes to do it the task. And when you get to a certain part of your career where you're okay with that and like you don't have any ego in those spaces, you're like, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I definitely didn't want to do that, and I'm so happy they got a chance to do that.
Yeah, I love that because it takes a confidence in the skills that you do have to be able to let go of the ones that I'm going to say don't have. I mean, there's a price of admission for all of these. You have to be able to play in the space. But there's a real difference in the quality of work that comes from people who are doing things they actually love doing. And if you can assign those things to the people who love doing them, you are very likely to get better outcomes, as opposed to saying, well, this is a development opportunity for Lorenzo, so even though he doesn't love doing this at all, it needs to get done. And I know I have 3 other people who could totally do it and do it well and do it in half the time because they love doing it. This is something that Lorenzo needs to get better at, so we're going to assign it to him. No, at a certain level, hopefully the leader understands that there's a time and a place for the development opportunity, and there's a time and a place for, if you want the best work and to get the right work done, you hopefully have a team of people who have different skills they bring to the table.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And have a great day.